today. Simultaneously.
Wow.
Are we in?
Simultaneously.
Are we in that?
We're in the Bible in 8 ages. We're on page 64 in my book.
Okay.
Okay? Page 64 in my book.
Bring it back.
All right, so be sure to bring that. Also, I wrote this book here years ago. Back when I was in the seminary, we had to memorize the Bible in subject, in the Old Testament and New Testament. So I wrote this book, and it has the subjects and everything. In this book, you'll see Ruth. Okay, if you've got one of these, we've got some back here if you want one. But
She doesn't have
one of these.
From the other
Mike, can you go back there and that thing? There's some of these back there. If somebody needs to look at one of these or have one.
No, from the book of, from the...
Oh, the Bible in
The
8
Bible.
ages. There is a Bible in 8 ages back there, Brother Mike. See if you can find the workbooks. Bible in 8 ages workbook. If you need a Bible in 8 ages workbook, please fill one out. But what I'm going to show you here,
Just this one. Thank you.
under, we have Ruth. Okay, we studied Ruth last week, remember? The last 2 weeks, okay? And that was, I loved teaching that class, that was great. And then we have 1 Samuel, 2 Samuel, we have 1 and 2 Kings, and 1 and 2 Chronicles. Now, what about all of these 6 books? All right? What about these 6 books? And we're on page, like I said, page 64. What page is your page in your book? Where it says chapter 17, the judge, and then all the judges are listed, and then it has number 12. What page is that on?
63.
63. Your page is number 63. Okay, because mine are a little bit different than yours. All right? And we're going to get into this in a minute, but I want to tell you something. All 6 of those books run simultaneously. If you have a chronological Bible, okay, you'll find out that it'll go from 1 Kings to 2 Kings to 1 Samuel and 1 Chronicles, and they'll just run together in a chronological Bible, okay? You'll see all of that. You'll even see Joshua in there, and Psalms. All of these, you'll see that in your chronological Bible. Chronological Bible, what does that mean?
According to time.
According to time. They put the things according to time. Also, in the book of Genesis here, in a chronological Bible, it'll take you back. It'll first verse you're going to find in the chronological Bible. What's the oldest verse in the Bible?
John 1.
John 1 and 1. That's the first thing you're going to see in a chronological Bible is John 1 and 1. All right? And then you'll see Isaiah 14 and Ezekiel 28, where God created the heavens and the earth. Also, you'll have Genesis 1 and 1, and then you'll have Job, and you'll have Isaiah, and the different places that quote about Satan rebelling. Well, in the chronological Bible, it'll keep you in order. Now let's look at this. We're going to get into our syllabus here in just a minute. 1 Samuel, who is the author? We don't know. We don't know. All right. 2 Samuel, who's the author? We don't know. All right. First Kings and 2 Kings, who's the author? We don't know. All right. 1 Chronicles. Maybe Ezra edited it. Okay. And then 2 Chronicles, maybe Ezra edited it. That's what we know about it. It's talking about the history of, it starts in the Judges and then goes into the Kings, where, Saul was the first king of Israel, wasn't he? All right? Now let's look at some of the things that we're going to go to 1 Samuel chapter 1. Okay, 1 Samuel chapter 1. And on page 63 in your book, it said, how did God punish all these people, the nations, Israel, when they got in trouble and sinned? How did God punish them? Remember that? We're under Eli and Samuel still in the Judges. Under 1 and 2 Samuel, we're under Eli and Samuel, okay? We're still in Judges. When Israel sinned and did wrong, God would send nations to punish them, wouldn't he? All right, so they punished. They were corrected, and then they would repent, and then God would send a redeemer, typified of Christ, that's going to redeem us. Okay. Now on number 14 now in your syllabus. It says, the children of Israel became dissatisfied with being ruled by judges and demanded a king as the other nations. How did Samuel warn them? All right? That's one thing we're gonna look at. But we got to put some other foundation ground first. Okay? We're going to find. I want you to look up in 1 Samuel, the 8th chapter, verses 1 through 8. Write that down. 1 Samuel 8, 1 through 8. But in the meantime, we're going to go back to 1 Samuel, chapter 1. Okay? 1 Samuel, chapter 1. And we're going to look at some things. A different story here. Wish I had a better pulpit thing here. This thing needs more of a lip on it. All right, verse number 1. Verse number 1. Anyone there? 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse number 1. Brother David, are you over there? Got your Bible open?
Now there was a certain man of Ramathaim, Sophan, of the mountains of Ephraim, and his name was Elkanah, the son of Jeroham, the son of Elihu, the son of Tohu, the son of Zuak, and Ephraim, and Ephraimite.
Okay. All right.
Go on.
No, they're right there. There's a lot to look at here. Okay? We got a lot of names in here. Names, do names mean anything in the Bible, Sister Andy?
Oh, yes.
They mean a lot, don't they? Let's look and see what it says here now. All right? These names. Ephraim, we know what that means. We looked at that before. Elkanah. Elkanah. What do you think Elkanah might mean? In the Hebrew, what does that mean?
El.
In English, El. What does that mean?
Elohim.
That means God.
God.
Okay, it's God. Okay, that's God. So his name's got God in it. All right, Elkanah, that means that God possesses, or God possesses or owns him. Okay, God owns him. And then we have a name of Jeroham. Jeroham, or Jeroham. That means loved. All right, that means loved. And then we have the word Elihu. All right, Elihu. Elihu, that means God himself. Do you think they might have known God? Been acquainted with God the way these names are used here? And then we have Tohu, which means humility and discretion. And then Zuph, which means honeycomb.
Honeycomb.
Honeycomb. There was a song about a honeycomb a long time ago, wasn't it? Honeycomb. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, and then
Ephraimite.
the Ephraimite. All right, we know what Ephraim means. And then it says in verse number 2 now, verse number 2. Brother Mike, you over there, verse number 2?
And he had 2 wives. The names of one was Hannah, and the name of the other Peninnah.
Peninnah. All right, Hannah and Peninnah. Hannah means grace.
Grace.
All right, Hannah means grace. And Peninnah, what do you think that name might mean? Anybody know? That means coral.
Coral.
Coral. Like coral in the ocean. Now, what is coral like?
Rough.
It's rough and what? Abrasive?
Abrasive.
Abrasive? All right. It is sharp, abrasive. All right. All right, let's look and see now. Hannah and Peninnah. And Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. All right. Peninnah had children, but Hannah had no children. Number 3, Sister Andino.
This man went up from his city yearly to worship and sacrifice to the Lord of hosts in Shiloh. Also, the 2 sons of Eli, Hophni
Uh-huh.
and what is the
Phinehas. Phinehas. All right.
Phinehas?
Uh-huh. Bonnie and Phinehas.
Phinehas, the priests of the Lord, were there.
Okay, now these are the 2 sons of Eli. Now we're going to find out about these sons, all right? Hophni means strong. All right, Hophni means strong. And the other name, Phinehas, means oracle. An oracle. So, when Eli named his sons, he thought about one that was strong like God and the other one like an oracle. He was thinking good thoughts when he named these boys, okay? These boys, we find out, didn't quite turn out so good, all right? Now it says the Lord of hosts. Who is the Lord of hosts? Jehovah what?
Jehovah.
Jehovah Sabaoth. That's the Lord of hosts, the Lord of armies, okay? Now, here we have a setting. We have 2 women that's married to one guy, and one of them's name means rough, abrasive, coral, and the other one means grace. All right. Now, which one do you think is going to be the one that's the favorite in the eyes of God?
Grace.
Grace. All right, grace. Simple as that. All right. Names mean a lot. And it said he went up from year to year. Now, verse number 4. Brett, have you got your Bible?
Not yet.
Not yet. All right. And Joseph, have you got a Bible? You want to get a Bible too? We're going. And this young lady right here now, do you have your
Jessica.
Jessica? Jessica. Oh.
Verse 4?
Number 4. Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Whenever the day came for Elkanah to sacrifice, he would give portions of the meat to his wife Peninnah and to all his sons and daughters. To all her sons and daughters.
Uh-huh. All right. He gave meat to Peninnah, his wife, and to all her sons and daughters. Now, this girl had a lot of children, okay? We're in 1 Samuel number 1 and verse number 5. And then it says there, what did he do for this, Jessica, what did he do for this other girl? This woman that didn't have any children.
He gave a double portion.
He gave a double portion,
He loved her.
for he loved her.
Yeah.
All right, he loved her. He gave a double, of course he loved her. Hannah, but the Lord had closed her womb. All right, she didn't have any children. Now remember, back at this time, if a woman didn't have any children, they thought God was not pleased with them. They thought God was they were in disfavor with God, that there was something wrong. Okay? But this guy, he loved his wife, and so he'd give her a double portion. He wanted her to get fat. You have to realize back then that fat girls were pretty. That's what they thought. They liked.
They're not pretty anymore?
Huh?
The fat girls aren't pretty anymore?
Well, I mean, according to our American society, fat women aren't pretty today. Everybody wants to be a skinny beanpole.
You're saying he had a thing for fat chicks?
All of those people loved fat women back then.
Cold nights.
Fat women were more lovable, and they looked healthy. The skinny ones didn't look very healthy. All right, they didn't think much of skinny women.
Well,
Skinny
unhealthy
just
women
couldn't be
today.
healthy.
Mike's mumbling to himself over here.
All right, that's the way they looked at it. This is the Oriental culture now. Okay, Oriental culture. Number 6, Brett. 1 Samuel 1 and number 6.
Okay.
All right.
Let me see. Sorry, I took so long here. The Lord killeth and maketh. No, that's not the right one, is it?
No.
Okay. And her adversary also provoked her sore for her to make her fret, because the Lord had shut her womb.
Okay, her rival, however, would pester her, would insult her,
Gouger.
gouge her,
Provoke her.
provoke her, okay? Bitterly, and irritate her, because the Lord had closed her womb. God had done this to her. You are something's wrong with you, girl. God has closed your womb, and you are a bad person. All right, and he just said that over and over again. This girl just kept on saying, look how many children I got. I'm good. God loves me. He don't like you. And she took, and she fulfilled her name, didn't he? What was her name? What was her name now? Coral. Or abrasive, or coarse, or rough. Okay? Number 7 now. Number 7, Brother Billy over there.
Yep. So it was year by year when she went up to the house of the Lord that she provoked her. Therefore she wept and did not eat.
So she'd go to church, and what did she do when she went to church, Joanne?
She wouldn't eat.
She wouldn't eat. She wouldn't eat, and she was sad all the time she was in the house of the Lord. They'd go up to worship God, and this woman would insult her over and over again, every year. When she went to church, she got insulted. That's what she got. She got insulted. Joanne, number 8.
What's the matter, Hannah? Elkanah would ask, why aren't you eating? Why be so sad just because you have no children? You have me, isn't that better than having 10 sons?
All right, I'm going to take care of you. I love you. I mean, as long as I live, you're going to have the best. Okay? Because I love you. All right? Remember the book of Ruth? The book of Ruth.
Ruth is good looking.
Ruth meant good looking. That's what her
You
name
remember
meant. Good looking. All right? And Ruth was a type of what, Sister Andino? Ruth was a type of what?
Right.
Of the bride of Christ, which is the church. All right? And Solomon, the Song of Solomon, he loved his bride, and the Song of Solomon, his bride is a type of the church. Now here we go again. All right? This God is going to take care of, and he's going to feed, and he's going to cherish his bride. Okay? Here we have it again now. And number 9. Number 9, Joanne.
Once when they were at Shiloh, Hannah went over to the tabernacle after supper to pray to the Lord. Eli the priest was sitting at his customary place beside the entrance.
Marilyn. Number 10.
And she was in bitterness of soul and prayed unto the Lord and wept sore.
All right, she was greatly distressed. And she prayed to the Lord and just crying uncontrollably. That's what it said. She kept on crying uncontrollably. All right? And then number 11, Brother Brett. I'm going to let you read the key verse.
All right.
Okay?
And she vowed a vow, and she said, O Lord of hosts, if thou wilt indeed look on the affliction of thine handmaid, and remember me, and not forget thine handmaid, but will give unto thine handmaid a child, then I will give him unto the Lord all days of his life, and there shall no razor come upon his head.
You know, I told my wife last night that she told me she was going to give me a haircut, and I said, I'm going to let my hair grow long again like I did a long time ago. I'm going to have long hair. And you know what she did to me? She almost scalped me. I mean, she went to town. I mean, it's closer than ever before. To make sure it was going to be for a while yet. All right. No razor will come upon his head. What is this a type of? Or a figure of?
Nazarite.
It's Nazarite. What does a Nazarite mean?
He has long hair.
Nazarite had long hair. When you saw a Nazarite, you knew there went a person that was dedicated to God. Okay? But what was a Nazarite a type of?
What was the Nazarite? What?
A type of.
Of Jesus.
Priest.
Of the priest.
Oh, okay.
Now, he was a priest could only be of the tribe of Levi, could be. Okay? But a Nazarite was a volunteer priest, so he laid aside all of his privileges of being not a priest. A priest never had any property. Never. They didn't have any property. Couldn't have a farm or anything. You know, they lived off of the offerings of God's people. All right? But now this Nazarite, he is going to take on all the responsibilities as if he was a priest. In service. There's difference. A priest in service had more responsibilities and more restrictions than he had when he was out of service. When he was there serving in the tabernacle, that priest had to swear off of lots of different things that he would normally eat at home. Okay? He could not do that while he was there. So the Nazarite was taking a voluntary vow, and it not only was a voluntary vow, he had to offer a sacrifice. So she said, if you'll give me a son, I'll give him back to you all of his life, and he will be a Nazarite. He can't ever be a priest, but he'll be a Nazarite. Regardless, he'll be like a priest. Okay? So this is a special birth. This is what we're going to call a miraculous birth, Brother Bill. A miraculous. There are lots of miraculous births in the Bible, aren't there?
Yep.
Where God intervened. So now this woman was supposedly despised of God. Okay? She had been despised of God according to her husband's other wife. Now she's going to be favored by God. Very much favored. Okay? Number 12, Sister Andino.
And it happened as she continued praying before the Lord that Eli watched her mouth.
All right. She kept on praying. This is imperfect. She kept on praying before the Lord. She didn't pray a Polly want a cracker prayer and then go home. She stayed there. She wasn't going to eat. She is earnest with God. She wants help now. You have to remember now, the women back in those days, if they didn't have children to support them when they got old and their husband died, they starved to death. That's what happened. Nobody took care of them.
Before the church, after the church, the women, the elders,
The
the
church
church was supposed to take care of the
The church
widows.
was a very social program in the early days. They called churches communist, even. Some of the countries, they said they were communist because they took care of each other.
They have all the things together.
Yeah, they put things in common. In a church, church bodies took care of each other. They took care of each other. They fed all the widows. They took care of the orphans and all of that. They took care of that. It was a very social society. Okay? All right, Brother Walls there, Brother Floyd, number 13.
Hannah was speaking in her heart, only her lips moved, and her voice was not heard. Therefore Eli took her to be a drunken woman.
All right, he took her to be a drunk. She was praying in her heart, wasn't she? You ever pray in your heart? All right, that's what she's doing. And she stayed there. She was praying outside of that tabernacle area. Somewhere she was praying out there. Okay? So Eli thought she was drunk, and now he castigates her, Brother David, number 14.
So Eli said to her, how long will you be drunk? Put your wine away from you.
All right, get rid of that bottle of Ripple. That's okay. I mean, this is what the old winos used to drink.
Ripple.
Yeah, Ripple. Ripple and Tokay, and this was a cheap wine. This is the one that all they did is it had a lot of alcohol in it, and they got drunk and got cirrhosis of the liver early and died. Okay, that was it. Put that cheap wine away, woman, and sober up. Now the priest even gets after her. She's in more trouble. All right, young lady, you want to read number 15?
Not so, my lord, Hannah replied. I am a woman who is deeply troubled. I have not been drinking wine or beer. I was pouring out my soul to the Lord.
I haven't been drinking wine or beer. All right? I haven't had any Jim Beam today. No Granddad or Canadian Mist or anything like that. I'm sober.
How come you know the names of all that stuff?
Yeah, I know the name
My
of
family were bootleggers,
Canadian
brother.
business.
Do they have beer in those days? No.
They made their own
Well,
beer.
they had all kinds of alcoholic beverages of those kinds. They had more than what we think about, okay? That's that translation there. What kind of translation is it?
New International Version.
New International Version. All right.
Does it really
Number
say-
16.
Yeah.
I was pouring out my soul to the Lord. All right, now we got past the beer and the wine and the tokay and the bripple and all that stuff. Okay, Brother Brett, number 16.
Count not thine handmaid for a daughter of Belial, for out of the abundance of my complaint and grief I have spoken hereunto.
We got to have a better translation than that.
I know. King
That's
James.
sorry.
man.
Translation
Bring you a
is
Bible, New American Standard,
That's-
or New International Version, or
This
something.
is King James.
All right, Brother Mike, we got to improve on that
King
one.
James.
Do not consider your
That's not
maidservant
King
as a
James.
worthless woman.
All right, listen everybody. Say that, Brother
King James.
Mike.
Do not consider your maidservant as a worthless woman, for I have spoken until now out of my great concern and provocation.
All right, she had been provoked by this abrasive character that was her other husband's other wife. And now number 17, Joseph. Are you there?
Then Eli answered and said, Go in peace, and the God of Israel grant thee thy petition that thou asked of him.
All right. May the go in peace. Shalom. That's what he said. Shalom. And may the God of Israel, may the El of Israel, the God of Israel, grant you your request. The word petition there, in Greek, it's deo. And when you make a petition to God, it means you bind your mind to God. It's something that you've been asking for many, many times. It's something that's on your heart all the time. And can you imagine that this woman wanted to have a child?
Now, what does Deo mean again?
What?
Deo?
Deo means to bind.
Oh.
All right? It means to bind your spirit and your mind to God, okay? 1 Samuel 1 and 17. All right? Number 1 and 18 now, Brother David.
And she said, Let your maidservant find favor in your sight. So the woman went away. So the woman went her way and ate, and her face was no longer sad.
All right, her face was no longer sad. She smiled. She talked to the man of God, and he was going to give her the blessing to God now. So now her whole attitude changes. All right, she's happy. Okay? Now we're going to find out what happens. What's the rest of the story? 1 Samuel 1 and verse 19. Brother John, are you over there yet?
Yes, sir.
Now these girls brought some real good food here today too, so you can.
All right, thank you.
All right.
You know who the food hog is, huh?
What are you trying to say?
Well, I hate to see them go to waste, you know.
1 Samuel 1 and 19.
Yes.
Then they rose early in the morning and worshipped before the Lord, and returned and came to their house of Ramah. And Elkanah knew Hannah, his wife, and the Lord remembered her.
All right, number 20.
So it came to pass in the process of time that Hannah conceived and bore a son, and called his name Samuel, saying, Because I have asked him from the Lord.
All right, what's Samuel mean?
Something God. Something.
Well, L on the end of it.
Oh, strength in God.
All right, now what? No, that's not what it is. Let's look at it now. Come on now.
Isn't
Now
Samson strength?
you're not taking Hebrew, are you?
What's from you?
No, I mean, you're not here on Sunday afternoon. All right. Those that are here on Sunday afternoon, now there's a, what is the word in Hebrew for to hear?
Simeon.
Heard
That's
by
right.
God? Does that mean?
Simon
Simon.
or Simeon. All right. So what do we have here? God hears. That's what his name means.
Should I have a study?
God heard or God hears. All right? That's what Samuel means. God hears or God heard my prayer. So now she's walking around proud. And she said, I have a baby. God heard my prayers. I am no longer looked down upon. God blessed me directly. He turned the situation around now. The old girl named Abrasive and coarse, you know, Benaniah, all right, Coral, that was her name. Now we have the one Grace. By grace she conceived, didn't she? How are we saved? By grace. All right, let's go on and hurry up here a little bit more. And then it says here, and the man Elkanah went up to his household to offer to the Lord the yearly sacrifice and to pay his vow. Okay? Number 22, but Hannah did not go up, for she said to her husband, I will not go up until the child is weaned. And then I will go and bring him, that he may appear before the Lord and stay there forever. Now, we talked about how long children were nursed back in those days. a woman nursing a child was insurance that the child was going to stay healthy. Remember we talked about the last 2 weeks, we talked about the two sons of Ruth's mother, Naomi, had two sons, and they were probably twins. And the two twins were sickly and unhealthy, and that's what their names meant, and almost to die. That's what their names meant, because they were twins, and they were, you know, there's not enough milk for two children most of the time with a woman. If you, out in the fields, a long time ago, if a lamb or if a sheep, a ewe had 3 lambs, they would take one and kill it or get it away because there wasn't enough milk there for 3 of them, so they would all die. Okay? Well, a woman would nurse a child sometimes up to 6 and 7 years. Okay, so maybe she nursed him up to 6 or 7 years.
Wow.
This was common back in these days. Okay.
And where it says the Lord, is that Elohim?
Elohim, yeah, the Lord, or Adonai, or Jehovah. Brother
What does Samuel mean?
Samuel means heard of God.
Heard of
God,
God.
or God hears.
Okay.
Okay, God hears. All right, and Elkanah, her husband, said to her, "Do and what seems best to you. Remain until you have weaned him. Only may the Lord confirm his word." May the Lord confirm it, okay? So the woman remained and nursed her son until she had weaned him. Now, he wasn't a little bitty baby in diapers when she weaned him. I want you to understand that. But he was a young boy. He was a young boy, okay? Now, when she had weaned him, she took him with her with a 3-year-old bull and 1 measure of flour and a jug of wine, and brought him to the house of the Lord in Shiloh, although the child was still young, but, I mean, he wasn't a man. He wasn't 12 years old. When did a Jewish boy become a man?
14.
12.
Huh?
14 or 13 of that.
13 and 14 years old. The woman became a woman at 12.
Wow.
A woman became a woman at 12 years old. She was grown. Okay? The boy became different than today, isn't it?
Women.
We take a lot more time to grow up.
Men
Huh?
now, too.
We take a lot more time to grow up now.
We take a lot more time to grow up now, don't we?
The women mature.
The woman matures early.
Yeah.
A girl is usually mature. Mary may have been 13 or 14 years old when she married Joseph, okay? She may have been 13 or 14 years old when she married Joseph. It was not, a woman at 12 years old was looked upon as mature. All right? Marrying age, okay? Pretty young, but that's the way it was. But the boy was 13 or 14. Boys mature a little slower, all right? So he wasn't 13 or 14 years old. He was probably about 7 or 8 when she took him. He was still young, all right? Then they slaughtered the bull and brought the boy to Eli, all right? To Eli. And she said, "Oh, my Lord, as your soul lives, my Lord, I am the woman who stood beside you praying to the Lord." Okay? And for this boy I prayed, and the Lord has given me my petition, which I asked for him. So now she is going to give him for the service of God for the rest of his life. Now he's never had a haircut. He's got long hair. Everybody can see that he's a Nazarite from a young child. And number 28, so I have dedicated him to the Lord. I have set aside him to the Lord, okay? As long as he lives, he is dedicated to the Lord, and he worshiped the Lord there. The boy did. The boy worshiped the Lord there. His mother had taught him these things. We should teach our children from the time they're very young that they are a special gift from God, and that we're supposed to be their overseers, and we're going to try to make out all the right decisions, take them to raise them up in the fear and admonition of the Lord, shouldn't we? That's what we should teach them.
Hannah did a good job with him because he was obedient
Yes, he
to
was.
that vow.
Yes, he was.
And all his life he served the Lord.
Yeah, that's right. And he didn't have a childhood, did he? What was his childhood? His childhood was not running around playing in the field like the other kids. His childhood was serving in the house of God. Okay, that's what his childhood was, serving in the house of God. Now let's see in the second chapter there we have Anna's her prayer of praise to God. Now she praises God now. She's walking off and leaving her child. All right, but she's praising God. Now not only this happened, we're going to find out some other things. And verse number 12, now we're going to skip over that. Actually go back to verse number 12, or 11, in the second chapter. Then Elkanah went to his home at Ramah, but the boy ministered to the Lord before Eli the priest. And now let's look and see what kind of sons that Eli had, Brother Bill. 2 in verse 12. All right, 2 in verse 12. Now we use this word again.
Now the sons of Eli were corrupt. They did not know the Lord.
All right, they didn't know the Lord, and yet they were priests. They were raised by Eli and near the tabernacle of God. This is the tabernacle. This is where they've been ministering in here. Okay?
Their hearts were.
Now, their hearts were not right with God. They were what they call preaching for money, so-called. These were the world's preachers. These were the devil's men. They were the devil's men. It says here that they were worthless men. Worthless men. They abused the people of God. Now the sons of Eli were worthless men, and they did not know the Lord. Okay?
Mine says scoundrels.
Scoundrels, yeah. Worthless
And
men.
what
Mine says
you have?
corrupt.
Corrupt.
So,
Hers says wicked.
Mine said wicked men.
Wicked.
no,
All right, that's what they are.
what kind of
These are
things
wicked people. These are wicked preachers.
than everybody else?
All right? Wicked ones. All right? And then in verse number 13, Joanne, would you read number 13 for me?
I think she's got the Biblical Standard, I believe.
No.
Or for their duties as priests whenever anyone offered a sacrifice, Eli's sons would send over a servant with a 3-pronged fork while the meat of the sacrificed animal was still boiling.
All right, now this was against the law. They weren't supposed to do this. But these were greedy guts. You know, greed is the most horrible sin among God's people of all the ages. It's been there since the beginning of time. Greed and what's the other one?
Lust, I don't know.
Pride.
Lust, right.
Greed and pride. There's the two basic sins. All right? Lust, greed, you want more than what you're supposed to get. You know, all of that. Number 14, and then he would thrust into the pan and the kettle or the cauldron or the pot, all the fork brought up, the priest would take for himself. Thus they did in Shiloh to all the Israelites who came there. Also, before they burned the fat, the priest's servant would come and say to the men who was sacrificing, give the priest meat for roasting, and he will not take boiled meat from you only raw. They were supposed to have the boiled meat, but they wanted raw meat. They wanted the best. Okay? And if the man said to them, they must surely burn, all right, the fat first. The fat in all the meat was whose? The fat in all the meat was whose fat? Whose was it? The Lord's. They couldn't have the fat. They wanted the fat. The fat was always satisfied as the Lord's, and it was burned on the altar. Fat burns, doesn't it? Now today, we know that fat's not so good for you, is it? All
Back then they
right.
didn't have a lot though.
Huh?
But back then they didn't have as much stuff.
All right. But they wanted the fat. The fat was the Lord's, okay? The Lord was watching out for them. They didn't even know it. All right. And if a man said to them, they must surely burn the fat first, then take as much as you desire, and they would say, no. You shall give it to me now. And if not, I will take it by force. They were reprobates. You know what reprobates are? What's a reprobate?
To take something back, isn't it?
Turned
Reprobate.
away.
Huh?
They turned away.
Someone that has denied the faith.
It isn't turned away after being.
It's someone that has denied the faith. They heard the truth and absolutely wouldn't listen. They rejected the truth. That's a reprobate. Someone that has rejected the truth. reprobates. All right? Thus the sin of the young men was very great before the Lord, in the presence of the Lord, and the men despised the offerings of the Lord. They despised them. Here are the priests, and they're despising the presence that God has taken to these people. Year after year, when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly, well, where am I?
18.
18,
18.
okay. All right, I turned too
17.
quick. 18. Now Samuel was ministering before the Lord as a boy wearing a linen ephod, a white ephod. Now was he righteous? White stands for what?
Purity.
Righteousness. These other boys weren't, I'll tell you that much. They weren't. They may as well put on black clothes because they were sinners. And his mother made him a little robe and brought it to him from year to year when she came up with her husband to offer the yearly sacrifice. And Eli would bless Elkanah and his wife and say, "May the Lord give you children from this woman in place of the one she dedicated to the Lord." And they went on their way home. And the Lord visited Hannah, and she conceived and gave birth to 3 sons and 2 daughters. And the boy Samuel grew before the Lord. So God is continuing to bless her now. This old girl named Coral, the abrasive one, she has nothing else to insult this woman with anymore, does she? Now let's look and see what happens in verse number 22, Brother Mike. Verse number 22.
Now Eli was very old, and he heard all that his sons were doing to all Israel, and how they lay with the women who served at the doorway of the tent of meeting.
This sounds like Catholic priests, doesn't it? Sounds like a bunch of Catholic priests. Here we have, right out here, they were seducing the women that brought the offerings and were molesting them right here in front of everybody. That's horrible. I think it was 1123 A.D., the Catholic Church devised the unscrupulous, lascivious, perverted doctrine of celibacy among the priests. And from that time on, the Catholic Church had trouble with this. From that time on, children have been molested, women have been raped by their priests. And we have an explosion of it today because it's been in the media. All right, all over. But when it started was 1123 A.D. All right. Well, here we have BC now. We have the same type situation, except it's not celibacy. These boys are these are reprobates. These boys are. Okay.
Weren't the priests?
They could have women.
They were married.
All right, but when they went into service, they weren't supposed to be with their wives. Okay. They were supposed, when they went into service for 30 days or 20 days or whatever it was, they could not go near their wives. They were not allowed that pleasure.
Was Samuel allowed to get married when he got old enough?
Well, we're going to find out. All right.
Settle down.
Okay. Settle down. All right. Brother Bill.
Wasn't there something on the news or the paper the other day that the Catholics are looking at getting rid of that celibacy now for the priests?
Yeah, they're allowing all the Anglicans to come back, and the Anglican priests to come back into the Catholic Church, and the ones that are married can remain married. If they want to get married, they can get married. So they're dropping the thing because you know what? Celibacy has caused them a lot of trouble. Anytime you go away from the Word of God, celibacy is not ordained of God. That's what pagan religions did.
Celibacy?
Yeah, pagans. Your monks and your Buddhists and all that. Okay, that's an unnatural thing. God gave men women and women men, and He did that. He designed this exactly perfect. All right, to love each other and everything. That's it. Marriage is an honorable thing. Okay.
Brother Phillips,
Yes.
what was the purpose of the Catholic Church to start the celibacy?
They wanted to look holy, and they copied paganism. Because of the pagan world, they did this. But yes.
Don't you think it was like them trying to live through works?
What?
They were trying to show they live through works almost in a way?
Well, When you start off on a false premise, you just end up in a mess, don't you? And that evolution of the Catholic Church, just you go back and listen. You get their book of what they call the Trail of Blood, and go in that little chart back there. I've got one with me. It shows the evolution of the Catholic Church. The first thing they did was go lax on church discipline, and from there on, boy, I mean, it just went on downhill. This is zip. And if you've ever taken the classes that I taught on church history, you will see that, how it evolved. Okay? Let's go on a little bit further, and then we're going to quit it for today. And now Eli, he's castigating his children. He probably should have used a bull whip on them when they were a little early, when they were children. Brother Brett, number 23.
And he said unto them, Why do ye such things? For I hear your evil dealings by all these people.
All right. No, my sons, for the report is not good, which I hear the Lord's people circulating. If one man sins against another, God will mediate for him. But if a man sins against the Lord, who can intercede for him? But they would not listen to the voice of the Father, and for the Lord desired to put them to death. This is what you call this is what you call a sin caused death. They deserve death. We go on, all right? And then in the 3rd chapter, God is going to replace them. And God begins to call Samuel. All right? God begins to call Samuel right there in chapter 3. Do you have any questions? Yes.
That's why he's the one who hears?
What? One who hears. Well, his name, it means one who hears, because Hannah prayed that God would hear her prayer and give her a child. And when God gave her a child, then here is the answer. God heard my prayer.
Samuel.
That's what his name is. God heard my prayer. Now, here we have Hannah. God's providence is unusual. I mean, it's just fantastic. We can't see the beginning from the end. God knows all that. Here we have the 2 sons. Now, these boys were bad all the time, okay? Eli's sons were always bad. So God decided to replace them with one that would hear. Okay? This little boy. And so this woman didn't have a child, so God puts it on her heart to go down because she doesn't have a child. He puts it on her heart to go down to the tabernacle and to pray to God. And if God hears her, she's going to dedicate this child. And guess what? This child that she's going to dedicate is going to be a Nazarite from his mother's womb, basically. Not only that, but he's going to be one of the greatest prophets in the Old Testament. And God's going to get rid of these 2 worthless, reprobate characters. Now, see how God works? Now, it's beautiful. All right?
So is Jesus a Nazarene or Nazarite? Or Nazarene a place?
Nazareth.
Ask me that again.
Okay, a Nazarite is like Samson, right?
That's right.
He's
Samson
like
and
He's
Samuel.
not a priest. He's like an evangelist almost in a way.
Huh?
He's like an evangelist in a way. He's not a priest. He carries the Lord's name, but he doesn't. But he's not a
Now,
priest.
start back over again. You're going too far.
Oh, okay. Samuel, remember, or Samson? He was a
Samson was a Nazarite.
Okay,
He
why?
didn't keep very many vows, did he?
No.
Okay, what's the first question you asked me?
Was Jesus? Why? He has
No.
long hair. He has.
No, Jesus was not ever a Nazarite.
He was a Nazarene because
He was a Nazarene because he was born from the city. That's like you're a Bakersfieldian. Okay.
We know that because he came near dead people and he wasn't allowed to do any
He did.
things.
He would have been breaking the law by drinking wine, which he did. See, a Nazarite, Samuel never drank wine. Never. You know, they used to even bring wine to the tabernacle for offerings. We saw Hannah do that. But he couldn't drink the wine, nor could he eat grapes or raisins or anything like that. He had to swear off of that. He could never eat those things.
So a Nazarene is like someone who was built, or Nazareth is someone like who was born
He
in the
was
city.
from Nazareth.
In the city.
Yeah.
The city of Nazareth.
Jesus was not a Nazarite.
Eli was not a Nazarite?
Eli evidently wasn't a Nazarite. He was a priest anyway. And a Nazarite was a volunteer priest.
Oh.
But you had more restrictions on being a volunteer priest than you did being a priest. Okay?
So would he be like an evangelist? A Nazarite?
A Nazarite was a volunteer priest. He was a walking testimony. Period. When they saw his long hair,
Yeah.
they knew that he was a Nazarite. So this is a man of God, okay? When they saw him, they know that this is a man of God. They didn't wear long hair unless they were a man of God. They didn't wear long hair unless they were willing to walk the walk. Now what happened to Samson?
He's a jokester.
He was a jokester. He was a jokester. All right. Brother Bill. Yep, I'm ready for you. It's your turn. Thank you for your attention. And I hope was this lesson, you learned something from it? We're going to go from there. From now on, we're going to skip a little faster. We're going to go through all of these 6 books pretty rapidly. All right? And then we're going to go and in a kind of like a brief period, we're going to cover all of the books of the Old Testament, all of them. We're going to go through every one, but we're going to do it briefly. All right? And then we're going to go into the New Testament in-depthly, through every book in the New Testament. We're going to go through the whole Bible. That's why I gave you the book I wrote, the Old and New Testament Survey. We're going to do that. And it does that in the Bible in 8 ages. We're going to follow along in the Bible in 8 ages. Now today, you were there, and we'll take up from there. When we go into the 8th chapter, we get over there, and then they ask for the kings. We're in 1st and 2nd Samuel, 1st and 2nd Kings, 1st and 2nd Chronicles. So all of these are simultaneous. They run together chronologically. So what we're doing, we're getting catched up. We're getting caught up to where they asked for a king. Okay? All right. Anything else before I give it to Bill? All right, Brother Bill.
Anybody want to sign up for the Harvest Festival volunteer service here? Here's the deal. 6 o'clock back next Saturday night, daylight saving time.